Right. Good morning, everyone. We are now learning, beginning the first Rebbe of Chabad's commentary on the book of Deuteronomy, which is called in Hebrew Dvorim. I guess the word Deuteronomy because it's repetition. It's also called Mishnah Torah. I guess duo is two. This is the repetition of the Torah, the four books of Moses we had before. This is the fifth book. And in it, Moses repeats over what he told the Jews previously, even though he's not really a repetition. I mean, there's a lot of new laws that are here. But the main thing we see over here is that Moses is speaking himself. So Moses is speaking himself, and everyone knows that the word of God is coming through Moshe's lips. And that's the beginning of all the prophecies that are going to be in the future from all the other the coming generations of prophets, Isaiah and etc. Now here we have a prophecy of Isaiah, and the prophecy is a prophecy of hope, of hope. Now, up to now, we've learned 2 weeks of prophecies that weren't so positive. They weren't so positive. They were called Peronios, the 3 weeks of Peronios, and the first two were from Jeremiah, and he is saying that um, the Jews, you sinned, you did bad, and God is going to take it out on you. And don't worry, He's only going to take it out on the temple, but that's going to be bad enough. You're going to really suffer, and He still loves you, etc. And here we're saying that Hashem will redeem Israel and the Jewish people. Israel and the Jewish people. See, in these 3 weeks here, here's a law. I would like to sort of show this on the screen, but in any case, we can't. These 3 weeks, there's anyway. The previous weeks there were three from Jeremiah, which was Divrei Yirmiyahu and Shimu Devar Hashem and Chazon Yeshayahu. And here we have. This is one of the three. So the first two were from Jeremiah, and this one is from Yeshaya. This is Chazon Yeshayahu ben Amos. So here we go. So it says, this is the Haftorah of this week. So it says this week, Chazon, this is the vision. So Levi Yitzchak of Berditchev said that this week everyone can get a Chazon, a vision of the third temple. You can get a vision of it. What that means, I don't know. I mean, I've been doing this for 50 years and I haven't seen the third temple yet. But anyway, I guess there is one that's available to people that are more sensitive to such things as I. We're not talking about having an imagination. Somehow or other, the third temple is visible, at least when the Haftorah is being read. Okay. But there is such a thing. The third temple exists, and it's here, and it's just waiting to come down. That's what it says. Mikdash Hashem konan yadecha. This is accepted opinion, right? But it's one opinion. I mean, there's another opinion. The Rambam seems to indicate that we have to build it ourselves. But the Lubavitcher Rebbe says no. It could mean that we'll just bring walls, the doors. We'll bring the doors are sunk. That's what we'll do. That's our part. And none of that. We've been working for 2,000 years to build the Holy Temple. So here we go. Isaiah the prophet says that Zion, b'mishpat tepade, that Zion, let's say the Jewish, but there's several meanings of the word Zion. By the way, Zion b'mishpat tepade, and Vishaveh, and the returners, in other words, the Jewish people will be redeemed through charity. So let's first of all give charity. Here we go. Here we got some charity. Charity. Here is our charity box. And there's coins. There's all these illustrative videos, you have on YouTube. So they illustrate, how to fix your car, how to water your lawn. Here's one, how to give charity. Take the coin in whichever end you want to, and you take your charity box and you put the coin into this hole, and that's called giving charity. And then afterwards, when you have all of the charity is filled, then you give it to some poor person or some organization. And you can make conditions when you give charity. You say, God, I am giving this charity on the condition that whatever problems you have, you can do it. So I'm giving the condition that we should defeat all of our enemies immediately, or you should do it, God, and that our soldiers should come back safe, and all the prisoners should come back safe, and the Jews all over the world should come to their senses and come to the land of Israel. The main thing is we need Moshiach now. Okay, now let's go. Zion b'mishpat tepada. Zion with judgment will be redeemed. Vishaveha, and its prisoners or its returners, b'tzedakah, in charity. So another meaning of the word Zion is also the Jewish people. The Jewish people are also called Zion. And Jerusalem is called Zion. And the Holy Temple is called Zion. Because the word Zion means a sign. It's a sign. Like you go down the street, you see a road sign, 50 more miles to Jerusalem. And then, well, the Jewish people are a sign that God is very close, infinitely close. We're a sign, Zion. And so is the land of Israel, and so is Jerusalem, and so is the Holy Temple. In any case, Zion, let's take it for our purpose. Zion means all the Jewish people. B'mishpat, with judgment. That's the Torah. By learning Torah, Tipadeh will be redeemed. Redeemed. Vishaveh, and the prisoners, but tzedakah, with charity. And sometimes this refers to like two different types of Jews. Jews that are just in the hands of the forces of confusion, whatever, and they just have to be redeemed. You redeem somebody by, you pay some money and the person gets out. But Shaveh, the ones that are in prison, that's a little more difficult. That's a little more difficult, and that has to be done with charity. So we'll see the differences. So Zion, the Jewish people are redeemed with Mishpat, which is Torah. And Shaveh, those are the Jewish people that are in prison, imprisoned in their own ignorance and their own whatever. In any case, all the Jews are going to come back to their senses, and they're going to come back to the Torah and the commandments, every Jew. And the third temple will be built, and all the Jewish people will want to do all the commandments. What's the thing of the third temple? We can serve God. And everyone will want to serve God. The only way you can do it is if there's a temple. So they'll all come to the land of Israel. That's what's going to draw all the Jews. And the Mashiach is going to do all this. Mashiach is going to be the catalyst, the person who's going to, just like Moses took the Jews out of Egypt, as Mashiach will take the Jews out of this exile. But it'll be different. When Moses took the Jews out of Egypt, so he didn't change the Jews, essentially. He just changed the environment where the Jews were. He gave them the Torah, showed them what God can do. And Mashiach is going to show us what we can do. What we can do, how we can serve God. So we go. It is written, in the Shema Yisrael prayer that we say at least twice a day, says that these words that I'm giving you today, the Torah that I'm giving you today, what does it mean? This God says, I'm giving you these words that I'm giving you today should always be on your heart. Which means today. What's the story, right? It was God gave these the Torah 3,000 years ago, and that's what it means. I gave them today. But the fact is that God, when did God give the Torah today? When did God give the Torah? When the Jews were on Mount Sinai, they only heard the 10 commandments. That's all they got, 10 commandments. So then Moses came down, broke the tablets, and then they received the Torah on Yom Kippur, 120 days later. But a lot of it was only revealed when the Jews were going through the desert. The book we just 2 books ago, Vayikra, Leviticus, God spoke. It says, "Me'ohel Moed." He would tell Moses laws from the tabernacle. The tabernacle, God's voice would come up from the tabernacle, and then there were a lot of laws that happened, things that only happened afterwards when the Jews were traveling in the desert. Like the whole book of Bamidbar is talking about in the travels in the desert. So on what day did God give the Torah? What day was it? So we're saying, I'll tell you what day it was. It was today. This refers to Kol Yom, every single day. Keep a Kol Yom Yu B'necha Chadashim. Every day, the words of the Torah have to be brand new. Why? Because the words of the Torah are the words of God himself, not just the ideas that God gave or the laws or stories about God. These are actually words, syllables, letters that God is speaking right now. And these words and letters and syllables, they have meaning. That's why God gave us the Torah. The word Torah means teaching, hora'ah. So it's not just a teaching for back then, the Jews wandering in the desert or something. This is a permanent teaching every single instant for every single Jew, and through the Jews, the whole world, the 7 Noahide commandments. So the Torah should be in our eyes brand new every day, just like it was in Mount Sinai. Everybody was shaking and their souls were jumping out of their bodies. That's the way it's supposed to be now, right? When you open the Torah, do you not feel this? Well, I don't feel it either. I don't know anybody who does feel it. So the Rebbe is saying, so what are we supposed to, what does this mean? How can this be that the Torah, excuse me, that the Torah will be constantly new in our eyes, that we'll feel it's coming from God. We'll feel every word is coming from God. The Yuvan Bahaktim, we can understand. Kiheni Tachlis, you read this on the Shema, the whole purpose of the coming down of the soul. By the way, there definitely were people that felt this, and we definitely can feel this. And the ones that really did feel this are all the rabbis mentioned in the Talmud. All the rabbis mentioned in the Talmud, they felt that every word of the Torah, every letter, every word, every idea is directly from our Creator. That the Torah is the source of life, in some ways more important than life. If it wasn't for the fact that God gave the Torah down here in this world, to us in this world, to souls and bodies, so people would just devote themselves to the Torah. They would forget about the living, getting married, whatever, about making a living, about it, about eating, about sleeping, they would just sit and learn Torah. That's all they would do, is learn Torah. But the fact is that that's against the Torah. God wants us to be in the world, and he wants us to be married, and he wants us to eat food, and he wants us to have families, and he wants us to have money. Okay, but the Torah explains to us that this world, physical world, is more important than going to heaven. When you go to heaven, there's no laws over there. There's no commandments in heaven. So the whole thing is, okay, so the whole purpose, how can we come? But so the fact is, we're in the world, and when we come to the world, we lose our sensitivity. We lose our sense. We come into this world, and we think that all there is us, right? All there is me. That's all I feel. There's also God. Also be a religious person. But that's the opposite of the truth. Oh, listen, I had this good over. There we go. This is, how can we come to this? It says, Yuvan Behektem will explain. Behold, Tachlis, you read this in the Shabbat, the whole purpose of the coming down of the world, of the soul, from above into the world, Shiu Sham Mikodem, that the soul was there before the 6 days of creation. The Jewish souls were there with God. I mean, originally all the souls were supposed to be Jewish. Adam was created in order just to serve God. That's the purpose of the Jewish people. Every single instant of Adam's life was supposed to be to serve God. And it was to think about God and to think about his creator and to utilize his talents and his abilities. And instead, he opted out to serve himself. But nevertheless, before the creation was there was Adam, which is essentially all the Jewish souls. The Jewish souls were there before the creation. They were there before the angels. The angels is part of the creation, and the Jews are part of the Creator. That's what it means. The Jews are the sons of God. The Jews were there before the 6 days of creation. Sheish Yamei Bereshit. Key, because of Malachim, the angels, the angels that were created in Maaseh Bereshit, when the world was created, with the creation of the world, the angels, Baruch Piv, they were created from the breath of God. Some people say that the angels were created on the second day of creation, when God made the division. Some people say the angels were created on the fifth day of creation. Of your faith. Of, this is Michael. Your faith, this is Gabriel. There's midrashim that explain it. Oh, well, but the souls of the Jews, they were drawn not from God's speech or even God's voice. They were drawn from God's thought. They were before the 6 days of creation, like the rabbi said, with whom did God consult to make the world? God created the world. He consulted. It says, Naase Adam. Let us make. So it says, who did God consult? He consulted when he made the world. He said, Benishmateim shel tzaddikim, with the souls of the tzaddikim, of the righteous, holy Jews, velo tzaddikim belevad, and not just Jews that are actually, in fact, holy, ela kedikativ amech kulam tzaddikim, even Jews that are potentially holy. Every Jew. So this God consulted before he made the world, before he created the light, on the first day God made light, right? So that's God consulted with the souls of the Jews before he created the world. This absolutely makes no sense whatsoever, because we have no idea what it means to create. There's no example in the world of creation. In this world, we only can take things in. You take sounds and you make music, you take colors, you make a picture, you take a mass and you make energy, you make mass, you take mass, you make energy. You can't, there's no such thing as nothing. But God created the world from nothing. And before he created the world from nothing, he consulted the Jewish souls. So the Jews are higher than nothing. Who knows what that means? But nevertheless, that's it. So don't try to understand this because it's true. I mean, the fact is, dear listeners, we can't understand anything when it comes down to it. I mean, there's nobody knows what matter is, what is reality, what is consciousness, what is conscious, what is it? The Greeks used to have gods for love, for success. These things are all, they're not understandable. Where does love come from? Where does it come from? Right? It's just an aspect. That's just the way it is. That's the way it is, right? Animals. Why do cats act this way and dogs act another way? Why? Why do they? That's nature, right? Nature means things you don't understand. Doesn't it? Well, everything in nature you can't understand. You can understand how things worked in the past, how they interrelated, but what they are, you don't understand. Nobody can understand. So now we're talking about where this incomprehensible world came from. It came from something that was even more incomprehensible. It came from nothing. And it's coming from nothing all the time, says the Rebbe, but it depends on the Jews. The souls of the Jews, they came before, even before the angels, before the spiritual worlds. So why did God put the souls into the body? In order to elevate, to get an elevation. What type of an elevation? The souls are put down here because God is doing us a favor, and we're going to get a big elevation. The souls get elevated. Says the Rebbe, listen, I got a better idea. Don't put us down here, and don't elevate us. Leave us up. We weren't high enough before the world was created. What does it mean to be elevated? Without this elevation, we just finished saying the Jews rose up in God's thought. They were before the whole world. They were before all existence. They were before the nothing, right? And so but that's nothing compared to the nothing that there's going to be when you're raised up, right? That the whole thing makes no sense. It makes double, triple no sense, right? The souls were there before the world, that's not a level that's before anything existed. But they came into the world, and all this shit, they should be higher. Okay, so here we're talking in God's terms. This is very important because the world is not our world. The world is God's world. And the reason that it bothers us that we can't understand these things, and so we have to come to our own conclusions, is because we don't think that there's anything that can't be understood, that's beyond the understanding. It's beyond understanding. We think that somehow other man will rule over everything. That's what they say when Newton came along and he made up these laws. So the fact is, Newton was a person that believed in God, but he came and made up these laws of gravity or whatever he made up. So everybody figured, Now we're going to understand everything. We don't need God. We don't need these superstitions. We don't have to believe anything. We can understand everything. And so, like the Lubavitcher Rebbe says, listen, there's an obligation to understand as much as you possibly can. As much as you must use your mind to understand as much as possible. As much as, even God. That's what Chassidut is. But don't think you're going to succeed. Don't think you're going to succeed. You can understand interrelationships and things, but you're not going to understand what God is. That's what the Rebbes are for. The Rebbes are to explain us that we can deal with the world, we can deal with God, even though we don't understand it. You don't understand it. As Professor Viktor Frankl said, you can be half sure and wholehearted. Huh? That's pretty good, I think. Half sure and wholehearted. And you don't really know what God is in the way you know anything else is, like you know your car is here. But in another way, you can be infinitely more certain that God exists than you know that your car exists. And that's in the inside of the soul of every Jew. And the Jews are supposed to bring this to the whole world. What do we care if God is here or not? First of all, we know that we're not alone. And secondly, we know that we have responsibility in the world, that we're here for a purpose. Okay, so it says that why did God put the souls into the bodies? In order that there should be an elevation to the souls. So what does it mean, elevation? The souls, it says before, they rose up in the essence of God. How can there be anything higher than that? Or we can say, let's understand a prayer that we say in the morning. We say a prayer first thing in the morning. There's different prayer books that say it a little bit different places, but in Chabad we say it right near the beginning of the morning in the prayers that we say. In the prayers of the morning, we're thanking God for giving me back my soul. So it says, Neshama shenasata bi, the soul that you put in me, tahorahi, it is pure. And then it says, you created it, you formed it. What does it mean the soul is pure? This is the beginning of our prayers. Even before we say Asher Yotzar as Adam, in Chabad we don't do that. Interestingly enough, the Rebbe says that, and we don't. We say Asher Yotzar first. Anyway, in the Gemara it says that that's the way it's supposed to be. It says well, it says in the Gemara, when a person wakes up, this is Aramaic, when a person wakes up from his sleep, Omer, it says, God, the soul that you gave me is pure. Pirish tahora, what does it mean that the soul comes is pure? What does it mean it's pure? From an aspect of godliness, which is called the upper purity. The upper purity, the upper cleanness, tahira. And afterwards it says, Ata Barata. First of all, the soul comes from this level of Tahora, and then afterwards it comes down to the world of Bria and Yetzira. This Tahora is usually like the world of Atzilut, it says. Atzilut. And it comes down to Bria. There's Bria, that's Yesh Mi'ayin. So this level of Tahira is like nothingness. And then the soul comes down to brought down to a little bit lower level. Actually, it's an infinitely lower level, but it's, and compared to us looking from below to above, it's a little bit lower to the level of Bria, because all these levels are incomprehensible to us. We can't understand either. We'll see that the next level is Yetzira. We also don't understand it. The soul starts off from a level called Tahora. That's the world of Atzilut. It comes down to the world of Bria, the world, the dimension, if you want to call it, of Bria. Namely, Bria means creation, something from nothing. That's what we talked about before. On until the soul comes down into Ata Nafachtabi. You blew it into me. What does it mean, blew it? Itlabshut aneshama betochiat aguf. The soul is put into the inside of the body. Like Adam, the first man, God created the whole world by speech. He created man also by speech. But Adam, he gave an extra thing, an extra soul. God created the whole world, body and soul together. Animals, trees, people, everything was created body and soul together. The body is the physical part and the soul is the spiritual part. By the Jews, he created the body and the soul together, and then He blew in a piece of godliness. It's called, he blew into the soul. Nafach. Says, Ad shenafachta be the God. So this is talking about the different stages of the godly soul. It starts off in the world of Atzilut and it comes down until God blows it into the soul. And God, you keep it, you keep the soul inside of me because the soul doesn't want to stay in the body. Because it shouldn't go out of the body. The soul suffers there, the godly soul. If so, there's an aspect of God which keeps the soul in the body. And that's what's called the surrounding aspect. And in human, normal English, it's called responsibility. Every person is in the world for a reason, for a responsibility. So it's like, let's take a very simple example. A soldier in the army, right? Most soldiers go into the army, they would love to come home. That's what they would love to be home. They don't want to be there. Who knows if they're going to get killed and they have to kill people. And they don't enjoy killing people. They don't enjoy being killed. They see their friends get killed and it's a murder and death. Everybody wants to go home. So why do they stay there in the army? Why do they stay there in the army? So they stay there in the army. Let's say you don't get caught. You don't get court-martialed or shot or something if you try to leave. One reason they stay in the army because they want to win. There's an enemy and they want to win the war. They're protecting their families at home. So that keeps them there. They have a responsibility to their families at home and to the citizens. The responsibility keeps them in the war. It keeps them in a place where they essentially don't really want to be. The same thing to a degree is the soul. The soul doesn't really want to be in the body. The body is a very nasty place. Unlike the soul, totally unlike the soul. The body diverts us from the truth and it confuses us, etc. And the soul is pure, it just wants to do the truth. Why does the soul stay in the body? Because it has a responsibility. The responsibility is to God, that God created this whole entire strange business, which is called the universe, so that we'll fix it up, so that we'll reveal godliness inside of it. We'll make it sick. We'll make it healthy. The world is sick, and we're making it healthy. We'll make it healthy. So that's what it means. Or Ein Sof, the infinite light of God, is called Soviv Kolmim Amalik Kolmim. It surrounds the worlds and it fills the worlds. That what it fills the world, that's the world. Soviv Kolmim is the reason why God is creating the world. That's surrounding the whole business. Although Soviv Milamayla, it's not that God surrounds the world, that he's like above the moon or something. Rak Shabakal Atar, every place and corner, Humamale, he fills the world, Kislabshus Achayos Banivra, like the life of a person is inside of it, the Soviv, and it also surrounds it from above. The Bechina Shmira, and it was Shalo Yevsika Chayos. Everything is alive. The soul of a cat would like to leave the cat, especially the soul of a person. What keeps the soul, which is spiritual, in the body, which is physical? So it says there's the plan of God that keeps it inside. That's called Soviv Kolomim. That keeps the souls in the bodies. It said, he calls them on all the time that the soul is inside of me. Modani, the soul is inside of me, and the body confuses the soul so that the soul has no idea what God is, but the soul knows it's supposed to serve God. So therefore, the soul says, Modani, I surrender myself to you, God. This is the thing that we really say the first thing in the morning, Modani. But it's also in that prayer, in the prayer. Elokai neshama shenatata bi tahora. Let's see. Maybe I'll show it to you. 1 minute. Here it is. Look at this. Watch this over here. Here, see. I don't know if this will help anything, but see it on the bottom. See, I have to hold it up with my hold it up like this. Here it goes. Elokai, God, neshama, the soul. Shenatatabi, that you gave to me, Tahori, it is pure. Ata barata, you created it. Ata yatzarti, you formed it. Ata nafachtabi. And then it says, Ata, and you, Va'ata, and you, Mishamra, preserve it, Bikir, I'm sorry, Bikir inside of me. and you preserve it inside of me. And so it's all the time that you keep it. Mode ani lefanecha, I am surrendered to you, God. I'm thankful to you, God. So it says all the time that the soul is inside of me, I basically have no idea what's going on. Who am I? Who is my soul? How God is putting into the world. I only know one thing. It says in the books that God is creating me and God is putting my soul in the body, and that God is more real than I am, and that He's the king of the universe. I am not the king of the universe, but I do not feel this at all. So therefore, modani, I surrender myself. Shekol echad, that everyone, he can surrender God. He can surrender himself to Hashem. This is not what I feel. This is not what I think, but I know that what I feel and I think is not correct. That means I'm surrendering myself to you. That's not good enough to just surrender yourself to God and say, I'm not right. God, you're right. Afterwards, you have to do something with the truth, right? You're surrendering yourself to the truth, but I don't feel that way. Okay, but you know what the truth is? The truth is God is creating us for a purpose. So use it. Use it. You have to make blessings. Blessings, this is even a higher level than surrender. It's a higher connection with God. You're fulfilling the purpose for which you were put in the world. You're put in the world to make blessings and make the world a blessed and good place. Okay, what are we talking about this? Let's not forget where we started off. It says the Jewish people are Tzion b'mishpat tepada. The Jewish people, let's say it means Jewish people. The Jewish people are redeemed with justice, that's the Torah, and her prisoners are redeemed with charity. So now we're explaining what does it mean that the Jewish people are imprisoned. So the Rebbe is explaining to us what type of prison we're in. What's supposed to be when we're freed from prison, what's it going to be, and how we are not freed. Now, a person that was born in prison, so he doesn't basically know that he's in prison. I mean, there has to be somebody outside saying, hey, you want to get out? Get out of what? Where do these voices come from? You have to know that you're in prison. So the Rebbe is trying to tell us that we're in prison. What does a person do, a Jew, when he's not in prison? What does he do when he's not in prison? So he says, first of all, he makes blessings. He blesses God. He feels the Creator. He feels empowered, enlivened. There's meaning in every single instant, every second. Do you feel that? No. The Torah has to be brand new in your eyes. Every instant you feel the godliness. Do you feel that? No. You're in prison. You're in prison. And we're telling us how to get out. How to get out. Here we go. Let's understand. One second. No. 1 minute. I keep going back. We'll never finish this. Here we go. One second. Yes, one second. Oh, does from far. Did I skip this also? I don't know. What happened? Okay, Lavinze. Oh, here we go. Lavinze, let's understand this. What is this surrender, this giving thanks, the surrender to God? Like it says, Ki modim chachamim l'Rebbe Meir. And there's an example given in the Talmud. It says that the rabbis, they surrendered their opinions to Rebbe Meir. And so what do we mean? We surrender our opinion to God. I sort of explained it to you, so I took away the, but there we go. It says that the rabbis in the Talmud, they would argue with Rebbe Meir. When they had an argument, they would argue, the whole Talmud is filled with arguments, right? So they would argue with others and they would keep their point. Sometimes they would admit that they were wrong. They would show their laws like Beit Hillel would give into Beit Shammai sometimes, etc. So, but every time the rabbis had an argument with Rabbi Meir, there would be modim chachamim to Rabbi Meir. They would have to give in to him. They gave in. Why? Because they disagreed first of all, and then afterwards they would say, "Okay, Rabbi Meir, we don't understand what you're saying, but we understand you're greater than us. Somehow or other, we must be making a mistake. We surrender." And that's what it means, modim. We disagreed with you, Rabbi Meir, and now we surrender our opinion to you. So what does it mean when we say we surrender to God? We were disagreeing with God, and now we agree. What does it mean? How can we say this? That we disagreed with God. So here we go. It's like I've been explaining to you, but the Rebbe explains it much better. We dwell in this physical world. We say that the creation is something from nothing. But you believe in God. You believe in God. Okay, so you're one of those that believe in God, yes? So how did the world get here? So we say in the books, it says the world is a creation. It's something that we see. The world is here. It's something. Where did it come from? It came from, there it goes. It came from ayin, from nothing. Why do we say the world came from nothing? Because we can't understand what God is. We don't see God creating the world. If the world is being created by God, it's not like any other creation in the world. Right? You go to an automobile factory, you see them making a car, right? You go to a place where they paint the house or paint pictures. You see the person creating something. And we're saying no. Now God is creating the world all the time. So the world is something. What's God? God is nothing. He's creating the world something from nothing. Because if we say there was something before God created the world, so then it means that it wasn't really created. Creation means there was nothing before. It's not just putting things together, like putting notes together and making a song. Creation means something totally new appears and that had no qualities before. It had no shape, it had no form, it had no size, it had no weight, it took up no space. Something that didn't exist all of a sudden becomes into existence. So in other words, the word creation means that it came from nothing. That's what creation means. So the world is created. So what's it created? What was there before the world? It must have been that there was nothing. There was nothing. If it came from something, then that something, that was the first thing that was created. So we're saying, no, the world is being created from nothing. That's what, right? That's religious Jew. And we say the world came from nothing. The eretz, the shemaya shemayim, the earth, and the heavens of the heavens, davar yesh, that's something. Hanira le'enedu, that we can see. Mashal amaylabu, that which is above, hu ayin is a nothing. Right? Ask the astronomers. They look in the sky. Now they have these super, whatever it is, the telescopes, and that they can look, 150 billion miles into the heavens and find that up there's also more galaxies and there's more beyond. Incredible, right? What's beyond that? You see, that's not our whoa, that's not our field. That's not our field. What's above existence, physicality, that's not our field, right? That's not our field. Maybe there's force fields, maybe there's energy, maybe there's something. Okay, what was there before the force fields and the energy? Was that? That's not our. That's what's called nothing. That's the realm of religion. Religion, there's something above reality, the creator of reality. So we say, what's the creator of the reality? The creator of reality, that's a nothing. But that's how we look at it, that this world is real and that God is a nothing. But I believe in him. That's what makes me religious. But by God, it's exactly the opposite. What's used to our eyes? Because everything in front of God, is like nothing. And that which is below, hu yoter kalo, is like nothing. And it's like zero. Hu yisprech, and God, hu yesh amiti, and God is the real existence. Okay, so is this world real or is it not real? Of course, it's real. We're sitting here, we're learning Torah. I'm speaking, you're listening. The world is real. What are you talking? The world is real. He says, you're right. The world is real. But compared to the worlds above it, this world is not real. Compared. If you compare it, it's nothing. Right? It's like you give a little child a picture of a penny. So he thinks it's really real. Goes to the store. That's not a real penny. What do you mean it's not a real penny? It's look, I'm holding in my paper. It's real, right? Says this is a real penny. Gives him a real penny. Whoa, wow, whoa! What is this? Look at this. It's got shape. It has a feeling to it. And says that's real money, right? So he goes into the next door store. Says I'd like to buy a Mercedes. Here's this. What's that? This is real money. That's real money. Someone comes in with a million pennies, right? He comes in. That's real money. So, ooh, wow, that's really something, right? That's really something. I didn't know that. Right? And then someone else comes in and he buys the whole company. But those are just very sort of weak examples. What we're trying to say is this world is real, and we don't know that there is anything that's more real than this world, but there is. The upper worlds, in some ways, are more real than this world. They're closer to God. God is more real, but we don't feel it. We don't know. So therefore, we look at the world, that this world is real, and that God is nothing. But the way God looks at the world is that the reality of this world is like 1,000 times nothing. Even the upper worlds, which are in a way more real than this world, they're also nothing. So all we can do is say that, listen, the world is real. God made the world. Here we have the Torah. The Torah says, don't steal, don't kill. What do you mean, don't steal? There must be something to steal. There must be a real world. The Torah says, don't take somebody else's money. So there must be money, and there must be other people, and there must be. So what's going on over here? So we say that the world exists, but its existence is only a very, very, very weak existence, and we have no idea what that means, how we can tone down existence. But the fact of the matter is that we admit that the truth is like God says. And that's what it means, modim. We argue with God. Our opinion is totally opposite what God's opinion is. Our opinion is that this world is real and that God is not real, but nevertheless, we believe in him. And God's opinion is that no, God is only the real reality, and this world is not real. This world is created. And every single Jew has this surrender to God. Every Jew. In fact, that's the word Yehudi, comes from Yehuda. Yehuda, when Leah called her son Yehuda, says Odeh Hashem, from the word Hoda'ah. That's the essence of a Jew, is to be surrendered to God, even though he doesn't understand. That's called self-sacrifice. Achim calls it, but nevertheless, this is from far away. Because a person himself, he's not near this, to his modeh, to his surrendered to. I'm surrendering myself to you, God. Ella, you're just close. The only connection you have with God is emuna, faith. This is a surrounding level. So there it says that even ganva pumachtarta rahmana karya. It says that a thief, before he goes to steal, it's in the Gemara, more exactly, it's in Ayin Yaakov, in the Gemara in Brachot. So it says a Jewish thief, maybe even non-Jewish thieves, I don't know, but it says Jewish thieves, there are such things as Jewish thieves. Anyway, so it says that Jewish thieves, before they steal, they pray to God. They pray to God. Because stealing is a very sort of a nervous business. It's very dangerous. You're going to steal, maybe you get caught, and maybe you'll make all this effort, there won't be any money there. Maybe you won't be able to get out, who knows, whatever. So you pray to God. The guy's a thief. He's going against God. He's stealing from somebody else. It's forbidden to do. He says, okay, that's true. It's forbidden to do, but that's no reason why I shouldn't believe in God. But you want me to just throw the whole thing away? So one thing I don't do the way God wants. I can't refrain from stealing, so I steal. But I believe in God. And even more, whenever I'm in a tight situation, I pray to God. So he prays to God, right? If you exactly the opposite, if you this robbery is successful, I'll give charity, I'll be nice. So it says a thief at the mouth of the tunnel that he dug to steal, Rahmana Karya, he calls out to God. You got like these Arabs, right? These Arabs. I mean, I don't know if it's a good example. They dug these tunnels, thousands, who knows how much miles of tunnels they dug only to destroy the Jewish people. When they're digging them, they say, Allahu Akbar. They're screaming out, God is great, God is great. So we can see that a person, he believes in the ability of God to do the opposite of what God wants. That's called faith. Faith is you're far away from God, but you're connected. But bracha, but a blessing, who gila is a revelation. Kamo Yishmael b'ni beracheni. Like it says Yishmael, it says that when the Rabbi Yishmael, he was the high priest, when he would go into the Holy of Holies, as he would hear God's presence saying, give me a blessing. In other words, make me come into the world. Blessing from one world to the other. Me olam ad olam. It's drawn down from the concealed world until the revealed world. Oh, how is this going to be? This is where we're going to continue from tomorrow. So Jewish people are asleep, deeper, more asleep. They're imprisoned. They're in captivity. The Jewish people are totally unaware of what God is. And they're totally unaware of what the Torah is. But they believe. They have belief. Says the Rebbe, belief is a wonderful thing. It's very good. But a person can believe in God and do exactly the opposite. It doesn't necessarily mandate your day-to-day life. Belief, that you have faith. Says, what does? Blessings, making blessings. Blessings are already using this connection you have to God to do what God wants. Faith means I'm nothing. Blessings means I'm something. I'm doing what God is creating me for. And we're going to see what's the connection to that and the 3 weeks and going out of exile and waking up. Let's now do the Yom Yom. Here we go. The Dvar Malchut, I'm sorry, Dvar Malchut.